Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the MANSDEM Episodes. I should say the first edition of the MANSDEM Episodes. As you know, I've been super excited about this, man, because I wanted to move the GGPLS podcast from just being, me looking at situations and giving my thoughts and philosophies and ranting into doing interviews. And like I said, charity along with everything else should start at home. So, I've always believed that everybody's got a good story in them. And this isn't even part of that. This is just knowing that, sometimes you don't know this. When you sit down with your MANSDEM and you reason and you chat, it's amazing. You know what I mean? And some of the stuff that comes out could be of benefit and use to other people. So before I decided to interview anybody else, rather than everyone else who was running to find the biggest, most famous personality to interview, so they can get the kudos and the props off the back of that person's fame, I wanted to start with the people who are important to me, the people who have influenced my life, the people who have guided my life, and the people who I respect the most, the people, who may not be as famous as some of these other characters. Maybe some people I'll get to interview in the future. That these people I'm interviewing now may not be as famous as those people, but to me, they're much more valuable. And I think what they have to say is just as valid, if not probably a hell of a lot more valid. Just like your MANSDEM and your womansdem, just like your crew, like your peoples, your homies, your roundaways, your day ones, your for lifes. You know what I mean? So that's what this is. Episode number 1. What can I say about Mikkey? Bro, I met Mikkey on the first day of secondary school. So we was like 11 and we've been like inseparable ever since. Do you know what I mean? Best friends, truly passed the friendship barrier and became family. We're brothers. So, as I said, someone whose opinion I truly value, always go to for advice and opinions and help. And, he's done a lot of stuff in his life. We started out in a music group together. We grew that and we had a lot of success with that. He went into the information technology industry, went straight up the sky, up the ladder. I had a very successful career in that and decided to walk away from all of that, as he'll explain, to go into teaching because he wanted to, spend more time and focus not only on his family, but actually to give back. He really wanted to teach. He really wanted to give back to the community. He really wanted to help and put something into the next generation. So we don't start off with talking about teaching. That was the aim of this particular interview. But we've both got a music background, so we talk a bit about music as well, and we have that fun. So it's not about me. It's not about you. Fuck you. It's about, in this case, him, not her. Without further ado, here's the first full episode. You've had a teaser, but this is the first full episode, first full of the MANSDEM episode. I'll get as many of these in as I can get the MANSDEM's time to talk to me for an hour or so. May I introduce to you, without further ado, the MANSDEM episode of my boy, my brother, Mikkey.
It gaff till a gaff. It gaff till a gaff. I'm illy with the till a gaff. Illy with the till a gaff.
I'm grinding, bro. I'm not even pretending. That's why Instagram is like my little playground. Because like I said, even if like a couple of years time, like I said, I had this health scare, so I started making music again. And even that was just me just fucking about. But you forget how much effort it takes. Yeah. It still takes, even just looping a sample. Even though nowadays it is really easy. It's still got to find the sample, get the part you want, put it in the thing, loop it up. And then what happens is before you know it, you're going to just loop the sample. But now you're thinking, no, I could do with a couple snares and so on. Next thing you know, you're trying to quantize your tom-toms. It's like, fuck that. I'm just going to go like, skibby-dibby-dibby. Pulse. Fuck that.
I don't know, there's so much different types of music now. Even in hip-hop, they still do sort of sample though, don't they? Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know,
sometimes though it sounds like they've just redone the original track. Sometimes...
Well, Mark Ronson led that way, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just like, they're still kind of sampling. They've taken a snippet of a track, but instead of like taking the actual sample, they've actually just got a band in and replayed. Sometimes it sounds like that.
I'm sure that's what a lot of them are doing, because I think it reduces the copyright.
Right.
So you're still paying the copyright on the melody and da-da-da-da-da. But I think, either you're going to pay less or they can't outright stop you. Because if you sample someone's song, they'll be like, well, that actually belongs to me. But if I just replay your melody, and it's like, well, no, yeah, the melody belongs to you, but that's not your instrumentation.
Yeah.
But like I said, Mark Ronson was the king of that. He literally make a sample and then literally just bringing it back, strip layers of the sample away till they had the thing replayed. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, I'll be honest, funny, because I was looking at this a couple of years now, I always fuck with music, I'm still addicted. A couple of years ago, right, when I was doing this music thing, I wanted to make a song based on Gone Till November by Wyclef Jean, right? So I was looking on the internet for instrumentals, and I found this service. But the guy was like, send me the song and I'll send you back the MIDI file. I was like, nah. So I had to try it. Bro, it was like 30 quid. I got back a MIDI file of Gone to November stripped down by instrument. Because all I really wanted was the horns. The guy's horns go, da, 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 ba, ba. Just mute. Da. I was like, what the fuck? And that was like at least 7-8 years ago. So I haven't even thought about, because I ain't really had no time to fuck with music, but that's the level it's on now. So that's me in my yard in Spain getting the MIDI file of a song on the sample. And obviously, and the good thing about it is, so it's MIDI. If I want to change the horns to guitars,
yeah, you can.
And that's, I think, that's a lot of what we're hearing now.
So how did he sit down and recreate it, or did he?
He must have. Maybe he's got a bit of software that helps him do that.
Yeah.
Because I've tried some of these softwares, but I've never found one that ever worked. Where they go, for example, strip the vocals off instrumental, but they never work well. But maybe if there is a piece of software that literally breaks down things into, even if it's into like, how can I put it, sonically bandwidths, so all the highs are here. I don't know. I'm talking shit. I have no idea, but I know I got that MIDI file because I made the tune I wanted to make, which was shit, by the way. It didn't work out the way it sounded in my head, but I was just amazed that you could do that. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If I was going to make music, that is what I would do, because I'm so sample-led the way I think. I would just have to go, get me the MIDI file, I'll take out what I don't want, then I'll change as much of it as I can and see if I can do an Ed Sheeran and blag the world that I actually made this shit rather than ripped it off. I love Ed Sheeran, man, but he is the number one. He make Mark Ronson look like a completely original artist. He rips off all of his fucking shit. I was just talking about this in the car the other day. Yeah, Lego House, man. One of the days before I die, I'm gonna find the fucking Bob Marley song. He ripped off on Lego House. I don't hate him, man. I think that was always, to me, the building blocks of music. It's just, I don't know why people wanted to argue about it. All the musicians on one level never did. They were like, I was trying to play like Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin, I was trying to play like Buddy Williams. Do you know what I mean? It's like, they always understood it. So, just the lawyers, them, innit? Right.
All right. Oh, you got a list of questions?
Nah, I didn't. No. I have a list of because what it was, right? You said that the only thing that you thought we would be talking about was parenting.
Right.
So, that was it.
Really?
I'll help you out if I have to. So, but with regards to parenting, because I don't do interviews, that's why I just like turning the finger. But if you was going to tell your parenting story from that perspective, what would the story be? Change the names to protect the guilty.
Just make it up as you go along, man. I don't know. For me, it's kind of guided by my parents, but in everything that they done, that I said I definitely am not going to raise my children like that.
Yeah. I feel you on that. And I don't think that's a diss, to be honest with you.
And it's not actually, West Indian parents just fall into that category of you're going to do what I say you should do. So whereas I suppose with my children, like they are now, and even kind of one thing I always said to children when they're growing up, I said, never stop asking questions. So you can say as much as you want, and I'll always try to answer. Because maybe times I might be tired. You know what I mean? But it was just like, just keep on asking. Like I remember one time, Tash kept on saying, "Get to ask me questions. Why can't you ask me so many questions?" And he goes, "Because you told me I could." And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, we know as parents never to give kids ammunition because that shit is coming right back.
Which is something I couldn't really do much with my parents.
Okay.
But the point I was trying to make there is like, because can I get it even now in the sense of, because, and this is more my mum, and it's something you said that your parents said the other day as well, when at work buying the house. It's kind of like, well, I'm older than you, so I know better.
Fucking exactly.
Yeah, and
100%.
so I made sure that I never came across like that. And I suppose in some ways that's kind of my guiding principle. Instead of, I'd rather have a discussion as to why you want to do this, or if you want to go here, or if you know, whatever it is, if you want money, let's discuss it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why it may be a no, but I'm giving you the entire opportunity to turn that no into a yes. Or at the moment, I wouldn't even say it is a no. I'm just saying at the moment I'm undecided. So you've got to turn that indecision into a yes.
Yeah.
Right. And then depending on what your arguments are, I'm going to say, well, yeah, I'm not buying that.
Yeah, now, you know, it's so interesting listening to you because it's funny. I suppose when we grew up together, we're best friends, so it's not surprising we're very similar.
Yeah.
Although we never discussed this, but it's interesting for you to say that because I always used to say to my children, literally, if you convince me that you can have it, you can have it. So kind of everything was on the table, and I always thought of it as part of it, also teach them basically to debate and speak up for themselves. But the other part of it is what you said, which is that I understand that I don't know everything. So if you can show me why you should have it or why it should go that way, I should be open enough to listen and go, well, I thought, but now you've explained that to me, actually.
Yeah, because like I just always remember with parents and watching other people's parents, it was always an automatic no, and I'm just like, but why should it be an automatic no? And then sometimes in the back of my head, I'm like, wanting to say no, and I catch myself saying, actually, no, I can't do that. To like think about this and say, well, okay then, because I catch myself sometimes. I say, well, why am I going to say no? What are the reasons why am I saying no? And I can't think of any.
Yeah.
And I say, well, okay then, like, I can't think of why it should be a no, but why should it be a yes then?
See, but again, it's about being open, isn't it?
So going back to the parenting, it's just being open. My cousin got married the other day, and they done this piece where they said, you know, hands up if you've been married for 1 year, the best man, and then hands up if you've been married for 2 years, then they went to 5 years, 10 years. And then obviously I've been married for almost 23 years. So like, yeah, what's your secret? And I said, well, I don't know. I said, well, so as a joke, I said, I said to my cousin, just say yes to that. That always works.
No joke. Chris Rock. Let's go in that mirror.
But then when I really thought about it, I said, well, okay then, communicate, because most wars start with not talking.
Yeah, true.
But this works for your children as well. So always talk about every issue. And then it's cooperate. So it's not about winning all the time.
It is. I was with you, bro. You fucked that shit up. Nah,
because sometimes I wouldn't say deliberately losing, you win anyway. But yeah, so it's not always about winning.
Nah, I checked that for real.
Yeah, and then I said one of the key things is empathizing, which you know a lot of people like. Just being able to see something from someone else's point of view and being in their shoes. And I said, if you can get those three things down, then yeah, you're on your way to a pretty good relationship. I mean, there's other things you can include in there, and I said, well, that works, and for me, that works for having children and raising children as well. Yeah. Being able to communicate, cooperate, and empathise. And it's just like, the empathise one's harder because, for me as a parent, I'm thinking, well, I'm trying to, you know, give them a better life than what I had as a child growing up.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, I used to work in the city and stuff, and part of my main motivation for not working in the city, because like when I was working in the city, it was like, wake up at 7, get home after 7, so I hardly saw the children at all. And I said, you know what? Because I was for my dad, it was kind of a similar thing. I hardly ever saw him. Yeah. And I thought, you know what, I'm not sure if I want that life. I want to grow up with my children. So, I mean, I could have stayed in the city, but I said, you know what, I kind of wanted to be a teacher anyway. And by being a teacher, I could actually spend time with my children at the same time. So it was being able to spend time with them, have those three things of communicating, cooperating, empathizing with them. Like, then, yeah, to the point I try to make it, in terms of empathizing, it's like, sometimes it's kind of hard to be in their shoes, because one of the things I used to hate about my parents was they go, when I was your age, I didn't have this and I didn't have that. And I've almost said it to my children sometimes. But then I go, well, they're not going to understand that. But although I want them to try and empathise with how it was. Yeah. If you see what I mean.
Yeah. But, yeah. No, you know, and again, that's another one that's interesting, because I had the same conversation today about why we sat here in the hot Spanish sun. Yeah. And the root of that was doing an IT job, you know, leaving before they were awake, coming home after asleep and being dog tired all weekend and not even spending time and saying, no, that is not how I want, that's no point of a family, that's not how I want a family to function.
Yeah.
And you know, even with the property business, someone once said to me a few times ago, well, why have you tried to scale your business to get an office? And my thing was always, if I work from home, most of the time, I'm home when my kids walk through the door. And even if it's just for them to go, which they tend to do more and more as they get older, but I'm still here. Yeah. But when they were younger, what that meant is that I could be working, they could come say, can I talk to you, Dad? And I could just go, I could stop. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And spend an hour or half an hour, whatever it was, dealing with that or doing something else because you was actually present. So again, this is funny because it's something that we've never spoken about, but again, we're sort of doing the same thing. Yeah. Or our end actions were to create the same scenario. So you thrown up some of the things in my mind, so I was going to say quickly, so do you think that, trying to phrase it now, what were you saying before about how hard it is for them to appreciate how different it is?
Yeah.
Do you think they appreciate how much you're trying to be different? From your upbringing? Because the truth is, you're being different from your upbringing, which is breaking the mold. So actually, you're definitely quite different from probably a lot of their friends' upbringings. Because parents aren't trying to empathise or compromise. I told you. Fucking goddamn.
I got like one parent who's like, everything is no. I mean, like, let's put it this way. The older sister has gone to university, but she has to come home every weekend. Because what they done when she was looking for a university was the house is here. They literally more or less just got a compass and they did.
Radius.
And they said, boy, you can't choose a university any further.
Why would you do that?
And so every weekend, this girl has to come home. And then in the week, they would Skype her before she goes to bed every night. And I put that in quotes because, you know, the stories I get is, she would like pretend she's going to bed and then go and do the shit.
But in the puppy pajamas. Yes, 9 o'clock, mommy. I had a spiffing time.
I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to put your child under that much pressure, that like when they blow, they're going to blow big time.
For real.
And then so we've got a younger daughter now who, I think it was this year or last year. She went out in the day, and then my daughter was going to meet and they were going to go out for a meal in the evening. And the parent was like, well, no, you've been out once already.
Wow.
And I'm like, boy, that's like back in the days. You know what I mean?
Frighteningly enough, that sounds a bit like me. But I tried to compromise and see things differently.
I was like, there was no logic to that besides like when you've been out once already, so you can't go out again. And I'm like, what is there like a going out quota?
Yes. That's my dad talking, isn't it? Yes. You had your going out quota. Now sit in the yard and do nothing.
But coming back to your question, I don't know if it's my job to try and get them to appreciate how much I've changed. I suppose it's more to try and get them to appreciate how much things have changed. Because I'm not like saying, look at me, look at how much effort I've gone to change things for you.
I feel that.
It's more kind of, well, this is how things used to be. This is how you've got it. There's been a significant change here in terms of your freedoms. In terms of, I mean, like going to like birthday parties and stuff. I got none of that. But I've never said to them, when I was your age, I never used to go to parties or anything like that. You know what I mean?
That's another part cycle you've broken.
But I mean, it may have come up, but not in the sense of I'm kind of throwing it there to be guilty. They may come back and I'll say, always kind of like, how was the party? Or, I mean, when they were younger, you were there anyway. Just like, dealing with the parents. And I'm being the black guy, it was kind of a bit weird. But anyway.
Hey, it's the black guy.
It's another story. But anyway.
You know what I find that so funny? No. Because I moved to another country with there's hardly any black people. So the fact that you went through in the UK is actually fucking hilarious.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, I suppose usually it will be the mother taking the children to a party and being there. A lot of these parties that, I take the girls to, if it was one or the other, it'd just be the one black guy with a load of white mums. And I'm just like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah, boy. Literally sweating like a nigga in a white. I am literally sweating like a nigga in a white.
was me saying, well, I'm going to do every bit. I want to see every bit. Just play every part. So
Yeah, that's cool, though.
I don't know. So yeah, so you may explain how it was in the past, but it's not a case of like, you know how much privilege you get?
Yeah.
So it's not like that. So it's just
No,
like,
that makes sense. You know, it's funny because I was thinking that what you just said about the representation. So that's what's going on because I can hear the noise. It will come back to me. See, you see what trying to record our podcast in this house telling me about quality. If your blood clotting feeling Mary. That's what I was going to say. No. So I remember, Mr. Broad Strokes. I've got no facts. No, there's a report that came out about a year or so ago about black couples that had the lowest rate of marriage. So everyone jumped on the whole, that's just black men throwing out the seas, black women being loose, snapping all this picking and that. But then the flip side of the report was that the black men, even though they were unmarried, actually put more time and effort into their children's lives than any other nation, any other demographic. Do you know what I mean? Prime example of only giving half the picture. And it's interesting. I think a lot of black men do like to actually do stuff like that. If that makes any sense.
yeah, is it? Yeah.
Like have that input. Whereas others might be in the family, but still have no input.
Yeah. Because sometimes I look at it like us as a group of friends, if you think about it, you, me, Robert, Eugene, Colin, not Colin because he's not married, but yeah.
He's living his life. He's a pilot.
Yeah.
All things have been explained.
But we haven't done what, I suppose in quotes, is that stereotypical black man thing.
None of us.
You know what I mean?
Not one of us.
On one hand, I can say, well, is that just a myth? But growing up, I mean, like, for example, my uncle who died about 3 or 4 years ago, at this funeral, I've got the main cousins I see all the time, who, like, basically he was father to. But then, so there was that mum, my auntie. But then I've got another 3 aunties because he's got children from another 3, and all 4 women were there at his funeral. And it was, it was just odd. But, they all got on with each other. They were all chatting and stuff. It wasn't like a, kind of an arms house sort of situation. But I just remember growing up, like, I don't know if that's just a Jamaican thing, where there can be several children from different. Yeah.
But see, that is a different conversation.
Yeah.
Because I'm like long historically not believing in monogamy.
Yeah.
Or marriage. I think the 2 most inappropriately foisted on people ideas for the worst reasons and then continued for the worst reasons. And to me, it's a kind of obvious scenario to say that a lot of the problems people have in relationships are based on the fact that they got married or tried to be monogamous. But the fact that people find the need to break their marriages or to go outside their marriages and be not monogamous kind of tells me that those fucking restrictions aren't particularly very useful or helpful or natural. So I've been, luckily everybody listening to this podcast knows I'm a fucking hypocrite. So somebody who doesn't believe in monogamy or married, who is monogamous and married, is a fucking hypocrite. But I like principles. And principally, they make no fucking sense.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of odd that scenario that you just explained to me, if there was no arms house and the women got on, makes more sense to me than what happens with most people where they're in a relationship that they're sneaking out on all the while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because at least there is some honesty. Well, I'm assuming, because you don't really know how that broke down, but at least at that stage with some honesty. You know what I mean? As opposed to, who that? And who that? And who are them? But that really is another conversation.
Yeah.
I have to bring my wife into that one so we can argue that one. Or some argument, that would be the one to have the argument on.
Yeah, because is that just an expectation where the men say, well, it shouldn't be monogamous, and the women say, yes, it should.
Yeah. But this, bruv, I can go in on this because it's a really deeply held belief for me. Because, trying to summarize it, before, if I put a time period on it, it won't make sense. Before, when things were much more, trying not to spank, it's much more machismo.
Yeah.
So men was running things, basically.
Yeah.
So the men were sneaking out on their wives because their women were at home with the children and blah, 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 blah. And all those roles were kind of adopted. We were taught them as we were growing up. As women start to get more liberalisation, less sexism or feminism, they start sneaking out their husbands more. Do you know what I mean? So what it taught me is that we grew up with this whole, men run around their husbands because they're assholes. Well, if men run around their husbands on their wives assuming because they're assholes, why are wives running around their husbands?
Yeah.
And definitely the last time I saw any kind of statistics, it was roughly even Stevens. In fact, at one point, there were more women having affairs than there were men. So it just tells me that, no, it's not because, because we've had those men and the hunter-gatherers, we're the penetrators, that's why we do it. No, it's because those systems don't fucking work. And if you take a step back and work, well, who thought of these things? Then they start to really dissect. I mean, you go to other parts of the world where they don't have that kind of, one-to-one monogamy. They've got polygamy, polyandry, and you realize, well, actually, no, this, again, it's back to that we have this one system, so we assume that there is one system. And we don't pay any attention to anybody who has any other kinds of systems. That's why I love all them shits. Anytime you see Louis Farrell somewhere in the deep south, with a guy called Bubba and his 12 wives, or a lady called Mizzy Lou and her 4 husbands, I'll be watching that shit. And she will be sat next to me cussing. But I just find it intriguing. And I mean, and obviously there's always some scenarios where you can see it's obviously abusive. Like there's one of them where there was I'll never forget this, I think this was a Lou Farrell, because I know Channel 5 always has some shit like that. There was one where there was a husband whose wife liked to have a partner. I might say that, swingers is the word. That was a better way for it, it's basically swinging. But you could really see that he was really insecure as a person, and you could also see that he was really unhappy about the situation. So he was basically putting up with it to keep her happy.
Yeah.
Which, that's just as toxic and unhelpful. But as I said, that is just as toxic and unhelpful, but is it as much as toxic and unhelpful as somebody who just pretends that they're not doing it and do it anyway. So you have to find out and all that fucking bag of worms comes out. So you get me on the wrong topic, man. Just like, yeah, man. Monogamy in marriage is one time. You know what to get me on. It's madness. This is madness. Anyway, so you can't give it. It's funny because almost everything on my list you've answered. If someone asks you again, you get a different answer because it's all come out already. Aside from the example you've given already, I think particularly if you don't mind, from what you get to see as a teacher, what do you think are some of the worst mistakes that you see, like, parents do parenting? Again, without mentioning names, but just sort of things that you see people doing that you go like, rah.
I mean, like, okay, I know I've touched on the, I'm the parent, so what I say is what you should do. I mean, okay, then for me, I don't say I'm the parent, but I say, you know what, I've got a bit more life experience than you. So here is my point of view, here is my advice. You don't have to take it, but you can use it to aid your decision.
Yeah.
And I've said to you before, I'm at a point with the girls now where I've said to both of them, you can make mistakes, and this is the best time to make mistakes because you can recover from them. But one that's hard to recover from is if you get pregnant.
Yes.
Because it's a life-changing event.
Couldn't agree with you more, man.
So, but almost anything else, unless you die.
For real, you can find your way back from it.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree with you more.
So, but I suppose it's kind of, to answer your question, it'd be anything that goes against what I believe is a reasonable way in terms of being. I mean, you'll just get some that are very determined. So depending if you're going through different types of cultures, whereas you'll get the typical kind of Asian Indian, they're going to be a doctor or lawyer. That still kind of exists. There's still that kind of expectation.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Whereas where you'll get other parents and they don't, in some cases, they I wouldn't say they don't care. They just want them to do well, but they are kind of open in the sense of what they do. And then you get the ones that he's a good footballer, so they don't care whether he does well academically because he's going to be a great footballer. Just but he needs a plan B just in case it doesn't work out. And they're like, well, he's good, he's really good. And I'm like, yes. And I'm sure there's 100 other or 1,000 other parents who are thinking they're going to be good, but they all can't make it to the Premier League. They need a plan B. Yeah. So, I suppose the worst ones are just the ones that are not supportive, the ones that don't care. The ones that, when you're calling, you're saying it's parents even, and they're saying, but EastEnders is on.
That's me as well. Yeah, I think that must be kind of soul destroying. Because we had was two things that came out that we were talking the other day. I was saying that that Freakonomics, if I pronounced it right, but it was saying that unwantedness in children was like a major factor on if they went on to being a criminal. And that really kind of blew my mind. Because I tell you what, when you asked this question, the first question was because I have this thing in my mind as to what my children's experience of being parented by me is. Because I'm pretty fucking confident that it isn't what my experience of parenting them is, if that makes sense. So how I see it, I'm sure they see it very, very differently. But I suppose the one thing I would be very surprised is if they, you know, I could get like if everything they saw was 180 to how I saw it or what I was trying to achieve. But the unwantedness thing would surprise the shit out of me, if that makes any sense. So, you know, that lack of interest. Because, you know, if you want someone, you care about someone, then you would kind of show interest, even if it's inconvenient to you. That's kind of part of it. So that lack of interest of, well, can't be asked to go and see you doing this school. Like, we have it out here. Parents cussing us, parents even, what they bloody call me for, parents even again. But I think it's worse, because you know, we get all the shit out here. Just don't be polite about it. All the fuckers who had to run away from the UK, they're all here, man. So many of them couldn't give a flying fuck.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. You really think, like, why did you, other than the obvious fact that you're having sex, for the cost of some latex, why did you really have kids?
See, there's more reasons depending on which group you're looking at. For me, I mean, like, there's some clearly having children because of the benefits. I mean, like, in terms of, there's a monetary value. There's some students that I've come across in school where they're clearly not going to be here at the end of the year. I mean, these are sixth form students, but are staying on because they get child benefit payment.
Wow.
Yeah, and then there was a time back when, I can't remember what it was called. There was a period where if you stayed on, you got paid a weekly payment. And in England, that stops now. But, and so we had loads of students coming through then, but then they were only turning up to make sure enough to make sure they got that payment. And then there was one student where basically she wasn't turning up enough and she wasn't completing any other course. She was on my course. So I dropped her, and then I had the mum calling up complaining, saying, I'm going to get you done. Because it was just income.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, this is why I suppose I'm conservative with a small c. Sorry, I interrupt you.
No, that's good.
Because I really think I've come a long way in understanding that, you know, all that, whatever you want to call it, benefits affirmative action, it has a really fucking toxic flip side. A really dangerously negative flip side of dependency. You know, to that point, which, you know, is kind of abuse. I'm not being funny. If you've got kids going to a school because there's money coming in the door, so I don't see any difference from that as when I was in Ghana and the guy said to me, my kids are Catholic, and I said, why? And I said, because the Catholics built the school, and if you don't, you know, if you're not a Catholic, you can't go to school.
Yeah.
It's not really a lot of difference. You know what I mean? So that is really fucking scary.
Yeah, and okay, I suppose it's a similar thing. So I've got students that are leaving because they've got a part-time job and they wanted to go to university, but that part-time job maybe has offered them a full-time job.
Right.
And they're like, well, I can't turn down the money, so I'm going to leave school and go and do this full-time job now. And in one case, I mean, I'm thinking of one particular student where it was just pressure. It was pressure from the parents. The parents said, boy, that's money coming in, you take the job.
You see, that's really sad because that sounds so much like when we grew up. And I kind of really thought we moved away from that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard stories like that when we were younger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know why I thought maybe things had changed. I guess because you hear so much about, you know, kids going to university and doing stupid courses, you know what I mean? And just it seemed like there was this opportunity for everybody.
Yeah.
That I just didn't really think that it was still like that. The parents would be like, nah, man. If you can earn, because obviously your parents want you to earn, that basically means they don't have enough, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's easy to play them off as like, you know, the evil stepfather, but if you don't have enough, it probably usually means that you fucking don't have enough. You know what I mean? So there's a level that you have to understand. Because if they go to university, you have to find money. If they're working and bringing in money, it's less money you have to find.
Yeah.
So I can see that, but that is a real shame. I suppose that's just me being idealistic again. You know, hoping that it's not so prevalent. So, okay, that was interesting. What I want to ask you is, you give me your best methods. It's not even done answer all this thing to writing. You give me your best methods of engaging. Well, now I'll ask you again. What are you finding, either as a parent or even as a teacher? What do you think the best methods of engaging with young people are right about now? Like, do we get away with, like, saying, yeah, I heard this new Skepta track. I'm down with the kid.
This is probably the quickest way to look uncool. I don't know. It's hard. I mean, it's as a teacher, you just try to build a rapport, and it just depends on what they're into. But you do it in a way that you're not trying to look like an idiot.
Like I just did.
I mean, it's just like, okay, then I have a Xbox and I have a PlayStation. I don't play them, but because, like, especially for the boys, I mean, it's actually some of the girls now as well, but I just wanted to, because a lot of them just play games, and that's all they do. And you'll hear them in conversations talk about games and stuff like that. And you want to strike up. I mean, with boys, it's like either talking about football or talking about games. Right. The majority of them fall into those two categories. So if you're trying to build a rapport, you're like actually having an understanding of where they're coming from.
Okay.
So like, I have a PlayStation and I have a PS and an Xbox, and I bought some games and I played them maybe once or twice to get an understanding of what they are, and I may read around the game so that when they talk about it, I may be able to either jump in the conversation or have an opinion, because they'll ask me that. And I mean, I suppose because they will ask you, going, have you got a console? And I go, yeah. And I go, so it's got a console. and then obviously there's two camps. There are the Xboxes and the PlayStations. Yeah. And so they go, which one have you got? And I go, I've got both. And they go, he's got both. So then they go, well, so what games do you have? And I can say, yeah, well, I got Borderlands, or I got Fallout, and I got blah, blah, blah. And then you got all those games. And then that's where the line blurs. And they go, have you played them? And I go, yeah. And I go, I didn't say how many times I've played them. Elaborate. But I suppose that kind of racks up your coolness factor without having to, you see what I mean? Yeah. And then you can just develop conversations from there. I mean, it could be random things. I mean, okay, then, so through the girls, and then, I mean, I wasn't going to miss the girls for that, is because you get to learn about more music than you would have by yourself. So, I can't remember the artist. As the song goes, I don't want to dead no beef, I want to talk it out. I don't know if you've ever heard it. Nah. But anyway, but anyway, so I remember one time I was giving a student a hard time because they just said they hadn't done their coursework. And then he said to me, yes, I don't want to dead no beef. And then I just turned back to him and said, I don't want to talk it out either, which was the next line in the lyric. And then the rest of the class went, that's classic. And at that point, they just went, yeah, okay. And it could be small things like that. So it could be just knowing the lyrics of a song that they're singing to, right, and being able to jump in there, if you've timed it right to actually do, and it's building a rapport. And it's kind of the same. I suppose it's a similar thing with you, because you're just taking an interest in students. I mean, like, the primary objective is you want them to learn. You're trying to, from when they walk in your classroom to when they walked out, there's a difference in terms of they've learned something, they've made some progress. And I suppose at the end of the day, you've got that every single day with your children. That you're there to help them, guide them, and you're just taking an interest in what they're doing and trying to steer them away from wickedness.
Now, you know what's so interesting? You bring this around. Have you read this? To bring the questions directly to my next question, because you said something to me, right, that a couple of years ago that chilled my blood, froze it. You said, watch Kidulthood. Now, things have moved on a lot from since then. Yeah. But in terms of, like, that, like, I think for every parent, and I guess for every educator, whatever the level, whether it's youth work or teaching, you want to try and find a way of, like, steering your kids away from the kind of lifestyles when they're young and impressionable. Yeah. So, you don't want them from, like, tween age to teenage. You prefer they weren't involved in drugs, crime, sex. But, have you any thoughts I mean, on a level, as to how to achieve that. Because I swear to you, I'm just always fucking amazed. to cut a long story short. And like I said, we're in a kind of unique group.
Yeah.
So I am genuinely just fucking amazed. I wish I could give someone a formula. I got nothing.
So I'm just trying to think about that in terms of, because I mean, for all the things I've just been saying in terms of taking an interest, spending time with your children and stuff like that, I don't know, part of me says, well, if you do all of that, then they're less likely to get into that. I mean, one of the reasons why I suppose I could say that, I can't remember if that was on our WhatsApp chat or it was on something else. There was this guy, there's a video of I don't know, let's just call him some street guy, saying how he'd like entice young boys into...
With the black guy interviewing the white guy.
Yeah. But if you listen to what he was saying, he's saying that the type of young people he's targeting are those ones where the father isn't around, or the father may be around, but he's not really there, and you know...
there's not enough money, the mum needs the extra money coming in.
And the kids are always out on the street because... and stuff like that. So I suppose the opposite to that is if you're there for your child and you're supporting them, and I suppose, okay then, you want them to be able to go out, but if they're just going out to be out on the street, then preferably not, but at the same time you don't really want to stop them from going out.
Yeah.
But if you're having conversations with them that's developing their thinking in a way so that they can evaluate situations rather than just running with the crowd, then that's less likely to happen.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, man.
Yeah, because that guy was saying, you know what, I can, like with any business, you've got a target market. And he knows his target market is those where there is basically a lack of parenting skills there. And so, I can't remember what your original question was.
Yeah, no, it was about just helping them. What would be a formula to steer kids away from, do you know what I mean, sex, drugs, crime, gangs, you know?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I understand that 100%. What you're saying, I think, is really very clear.
But the only thing I'd say to that is peer pressure is up. And so, I mean, you could probably be the best parent in the world, but if the peer group if it's just the wrong peer group and they have a bigger influence, then it can still all go wrong anyway.
Yeah, I think that's a real sad one, isn't it? Because everybody knows a scenario like that.
Yeah.
Where there's a kid and you know them to be a good kid and you know the parents are, doing everything they can. Like, they're attentive and they give a shit, they put the effort in.
Yeah.
And then you're like, how did that child end up in that? You know what I mean? And I think I never thought of it, which is why I asked the question, but as you know, sometimes I say learning is remembering. As you explain what you explained, it just made so much sense to me. And again, I think it almost goes back to that unwanted thing. That, a version of unwantedness is not putting that time and effort and attention because I didn't fucking want you in the first place.
Yeah.
And putting that time and effort and attention says to these children that, well, look, you don't have to get in that.
Yeah, for a moment you can tell your child, well, I didn't want you in the first place, and, in the back of their head, this time I was going to find somewhere that does want me in.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's why I said when I really understood that, I found that terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, it wasn't anything I thought about. I mean, I've seen, what's that movie again? Oh, it's at the tip of my tongue. But it's on the tip of your tongue, you can't say it. Mm. The one, you've seen Empire, innit?
Kinda, I ain't really...
Yeah, I don't blame it. But Precious.
Right, okay, yeah.
So she's an unwanted child.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you can see why she would get up in some bad shit because her mum was really, she's just a burden. And again, the other flip side of the burden is, well, then if you can make me money, you're less of a burden.
Yeah.
So as you said, stay on in school if it pays, go work if it don't. So nothing is about you and your welfare and your well-being and your progression. It's all about, you making something for me because you're a fucking burden to me. Yeah, I think that's really, very scary, but I think the way you explain that's really very clear.
Yeah.
No, just I talk a lot, so if you say something that makes me pause for thought, I pause. Let me pause and make sure that
you've been recorded.
Yeah, I've done it before, Let's have this 3-hour conversation again. Yeah, no, there was another point, but it's got out of my head now. So I'll come back to me. So in relation to that, so have to ask the obvious one. Again, coming on from that, I'm not going to ask you to give me solutions because that's really unfair. Just what are your thoughts on UK knife crime and young people?
Do you know what? The knife crime thing, I mean, even when we were going to school, there was
Trying to tell them they don't listen to me. They think I'm making it up.
So
I tell them about your fucking chain, and then think that I'm making that shit up. Like I have to remember that shit like yesterday.
I'm just like, well, see, okay, I'm not trying to belittle, and it probably okay. In some ways, it is worse because some of the knives that there's the standard kitchen knives, but some of those like jagged edge,
zombie knives.
Yeah, it's like that's madness. Yeah. That is absolute madness.
But we never had Amazon.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, the knife was either a flick or a ratchet knife around our time. And, you saw people getting, I mean, I've seen someone get stabbed, and you've seen the scars and the slugs of people that have been slashed back in our time. Is it any worse than it was then? I don't know. It's just that because with media and social media, we see a lot of it more than we did. It's like going back in time and saying, with like women and children and people disappearing. If we were to go back over 100 years ago, there's probably a lot more going on there, but there just wasn't the communication method to tell everybody that all these people have gone missing. Do you see what I mean? So
I hear you, man.
What am I trying to say? So, I mean, because there was a period where, they were worried more about guns, and there has been this move from guns to knives, or has there been?
Again.
Because it's like I said, I mean, statistically, I know this was earlier in the year, and I don't think it could have changed much, but statistically, knife crime was mainly in the Midlands, and it was white on white.
Yes.
But
you wouldn't believe it.
You wouldn't believe it if you look at the news. Yeah, so you think it was just, black Londoners, and all the crime was being committed there. So, but when you speak to boys, and it's, if they're caught carrying a knife and it's why, and it's to protect themselves, I don't know. Does it I mean, okay, I suppose it's that you feel safe with a knife, maybe, but there's one thing to feel safe with a knife, and are you really going to use it? Because it takes a certain mentality to use a knife on a person.
100%.
And to just pull it out and think like it's going to be in the movies, you see someone with a knife and then you're going to back off, doesn't always necessarily happen, because that other person who pulls out a knife may be someone that has used his knife before. And,
exactly.
So I don't know where I'm going with what I'm saying.
It makes sense, because I was just asking for thoughts anyway.
It's always been there. It's always been, for me, it's always been a fashionable thing to carry a knife. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying, like, especially with boys. And actually, yes, good point. I mean, is it girls as well now?
I heard a report the other day that said that now there are much more young women being caught with knives.
Right.
But again, it's a flow, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, but is that... Because sometimes, depending if they're running in gangs, is that the boys passing their knives off to their...
I was thinking that because they're not searching the girls.
Yeah.
So they see the
there was a time they weren't searching the girls. They probably are now. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's madness. Should be carrying knives, but don't know how to stop it.
Well, listen, I mean, remember, I asked for thoughts, and I'm never worried about being popular.
Yeah.
You got to be careful what you say in life. Not because the world's PC, but because you don't offend anybody who's lost a family member.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But the thing is, I get... Well, now, you know me that if I was a character in... Not Thundercats, what's the other one? It was... it doesn't matter. I would be a man at arms. Because from about the age of 11 o'clock, 11 years of age, I've had a really unhealthy interest in weapons. So, to me, and I'm not like no bad boy, rude boy, tough boy, but I've had knuckle dusters, knives, nunchucks, air guns, anything I could get my hands on, you name it, it was in my yard. So I kind of look at it kind of really differently. You know what I mean? I see there's a kind of male aspect to that in the first place.
Yeah, okay. But there's an interest in weapons, and then there's a mentality to use that weapon against somebody.
No, I agree, but that's what I'm saying. So to me, I'm with you, because those are the stages to me. So I look at it one that if we cut, I'm really getting anti-socialization. So if we take away the socialization that we're trying to be given, and we just get back to as close to the reptilian brain, which might not be right, but that's the more natural state of us. Men, hunter-gatherer, defend myself from a fucking flying dinosaur, raptor, I need a fucking sharp stone. You know what I mean? Because I have no other reason for interest in weapons. Because I'm not the kind of guy who would go out there and want to rob someone and need a weapon to do it. But yeah, I had all this shit in my house. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of figured, well, that has to come from somewhere. It didn't come from my dad. Particularly having to defend myself. That's more than a huge samurai sword in the other. But no, but you know what I mean? So I look at it from that level, you know what I mean? And then, like I said, the second part is, okay, now you're carrying a knife. Well, of course, if you're a criminal, you're going to need weapons. So if you're criminal-minded, to me, those two go together. Not so many of the cheeky, chappy, you know, housebreakers. Most criminals just need weapons to cover the territory. But the other people wanting to carry knives to protect themselves, again, for me, it's almost like being able to protect yourself is a male rite of passage.
Right.
If that makes any sense. So it also depends on how you do it. We went to school, I remember my first year, all I remember was a couple of guys were going boxing class. They could have had knives, but they didn't need one. If no one else had a knife, they'd already got that shit sorted. Do you know what I mean? You used to push weights at the biggest chest. That anybody had seen an 11-year-old specimen of a human being. But again, it was a rite of passage. It was a way that you could literally tell a man who were boxing, boy, you might be kind of pretty slick with it. But I only need to swing you once. But it's true. It's like that's kind of, I really see it in those terms. So don't get me wrong, it terrifies me what's going on in the UK, but I think what you're saying is absolutely true. People are analysing it from the wrong angle. And really, I think if there is a problem, it's where you started when you're talking about that modern day Fagin and dragging people who are susceptible to being brought into crime, where weapons and crime go together, and dragging them into a scenario where you're going to use a weapon.
And it's, okay, so I have no evidence of this. I think maybe the number of, most likely the number of knives have increased, although, like I said, I was saying before, it was there in our age, but I think the desensitization, or you basically, there are more that are desensitized to the outcomes of using a knife than there were than our time.
But having said,
and I don't know, because I know some people say, it's all those violent video games, and it might be because some are so realistic now that it's just like, okay, this is amazing on one hand, because I like look at the graphics and I go, wow, and I don't know, and I go, does that really desensitize somebody to say, well, I know what it's really going to look like if I was to stab / shoot somebody, that I could really do it, or I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but it's just a case of there are more that are likely to use a knife than there were before. And why, I don't know.
No, you know what? I actually hear that. I'll say one thing. I've got this thing in my mind that one of the major things that changed with young people between our generation and this generation, and it didn't happen now, it happened like 20 odd years ago, is when a man pulled a knife on you or said he had a knife, his intention and what he told you he was going to do to you went from, I'm going to wet you to I'm going to bore you. I remember the first time I hear a man start talking about boring up, man, I was like, what is boring up, man? Because I come from a place where, you had your ratchet knife. The whole point was you flicked it because it looked cool, and then you wet them out to let him know that you were bad and don't fuck with me because I'm going to scar you on your face. Most of the man, there was not freaking any further than that. I'm dealing with. Then about, I'm talking about 20 odd years ago, man started, I'm bored, man. What do you mean bored, man? Not boring. Homes. I'm like, why the fuck would you want to do that? And I think that was a big change. So I think you're right. And I tell you the truth, I kind of, because like everything in the world, everything in life is complex. We try and break things down into black and white, and the majority of it's always going to be grey. So I'm a big advocate for of course, music doesn't make people want to go out and commit violent fucking crimes, because neither do movies,
Yeah.
But I think there is one truth that I also have to throw in there while I'm saying that, to be honest, which is that, let's say, if you believe in mantras, two kinds of mantras that I'm pretty sure I can prove work. People who, for example, do those kind of, life is good, life is good, life is good, life is good, life is good. Doesn't mean you're going to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, who've been medically diagnosed with certain things, having that kind of mantra in your brain all day long will almost been proven as a placebo to even improve your health or not have the progression of disease get any worse. Up flip side, back to unwantedness, you're a little shit, you're a waste, you're worthless, you're nothing.
Yeah.
So the kid that long enough, you'll normally get, if you get a very lucky reaction, they fight against it and try and be the complete opposite, and they're driven like fuck to be a superstar success. And a lot of them just go, okay then, and that's what you get. And I suppose what I'm saying is that, from the perspective of the desensitization, if I'm stabbing a man, there's probably a level at which I think I can go out a road and do that.
Yeah.
And I suppose that in a way, it probably comes from, in a way, so it's for something new. I would be a hypocrite, even worse, to deny there's any truth in that. Because the whole point of training in martial arts is to be in a frame of mind to be able to use it if you have to. So your teacher who is not Cobra Kai, your teacher has to be Mr. Miyagi. So he's not training you to go and beat the fuck out of people. What he most definitely wants to be able to make sure you can do is react if someone tries to attack you.
Yeah.
And if there wasn't some level of repeatedly doing something that allows you to almost go on autopilot and do it when you need to, then martial arts wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's my sort of version of what you're saying. Is there a desensitization? I suppose there kind of has to be. If you're just really engrossed in murder, kill, as Master Ace used to say, there has to be some level of desensitization to thinking that, that you're nearer to being able to do that. But maybe a kid who just plays The Sims. Is The Sims still out there? You ever come across The Sims?
Yeah.
You used to like The Sims, man. I like to see a lot of it. That was a very girls' video game. I'm going to have a family. Better remember to feed my dog. Oh no, Daddy's gone away again. Can't take the misogyny. That's like misogyny? What's the word I'm looking for? Not misogyny.
How did you come across The Sims? Was that you introduced her to The Sims because you thought that was a safe game for her? Or, because with the girls, I don't know if it's just me, but I mean, she just likes racing games, so car racing games, and she's really good at it. It just kicks my ass. Good at it.
I think that's how you around The Sims.
Right.
And then you're thinking, what? I'll explain. Because as I remember, I had a very early version of a racing game, and then we got in Grand Theft. I don't like, I've never liked games. Yeah. So I was always against. But anyway, compromise, I think you said. So got an early version of Grand Theft Auto, and Mikkey was me very good at it. But then we started realizing changing her behavior. Like on the real changes in her behavior. So obviously me and she kind of like, really? Yeah, you see that too? I'm like, yeah, we're just old folks. Maybe. Then one day Karen came in like, nah, man. You're losing her shit, man. She's playing this game. So we're like, yeah, you are evidently too young to be playing that game. We have to find something that suits. And I think that's what The Sims came in. Yeah, bloody hell, it should be hot wiring cars now. Doing donuts over in the middle of the car.
And Jackie.
But it was funny because we had the game at the same time and we didn't see a change in behaviour.
Yeah.
That's what I think is so interesting, that there's so many fucking factors. You know what I mean? Even like, for example, within one family, the differences in, whatever's genetic, whatever kids pick up, that it is bizarre. So I'm not going to try and diss my daughter and say that, she would have gone on the wrong path as you carried on playing that game, but without a doubt, three out of four of us saw a change in her behaviour. And even she, at one point, when we banned her from it, went back 1 year, I think I was going on a little bit too extra. Whereas with other than the side of I can never get you off the fucking game, I never saw any evidence of that. I think that's what's so difficult when you're trying to set out plans. And every plan you set out is always for the majority, innit? You try and find a common denominator for most people, but you're guaranteed to miss a good portion. All right, last question. UK grime music.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's just I'm probably the wrong person because I'm not up on the grime scene proper. If you say name me a grime artist, I'll struggle. So
No, it wasn't that because you introduced me to grime.
Yeah,
that's what I'm asking this question. So what I was going to say to you is, what do you think? Which is again just your opinion of how what you see as grime has moved from. Well, you sent me Fix Up Look Sharp.
Yeah.
Which is probably the first time I paid any attention to grime. In fact, the first time I paid any attention to Zerasky. Because I don't even heard his pop songs.
Right.
And from there to drill music.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah. How do you, I want to call it a progression. How do you see just that movement, that change?
How do I see that movement change? You know, that's really hard. I don't even know.
That's why I asked it.
The reason why I say that is because it's just like, I mean, like, I remember saying to myself, especially like with drill, going, how can I listen to some of, and even some grime? I said, how can I listen to some of this shit? And then I go, I sound like my parents when they were listening to, when they were overhearing me listening to hip hop.
Hip hop,
you know what I mean?
absolutely, man.
And I'm like, okay, I'm old,
but we are old. That's what I'm a big embracer with that. We are old.
Yeah, we are old, but we still listen to more of the music that our children listen to than our parents listen to us.
Because of the things you said before about being open-minded and cooperating and being
Well, there is that.
Empathetic.
Yeah, empathetic. But I think it's also because hip hop has influenced everything that our children listen to.
True.
And so we can still see that basically the DNA's in there. And so for us, it's not that. In some ways, it's significantly different. In some ways, it's not that much different to what we listen to.
Well, that's what you showed me.
Yeah.
That was the whole point. Like, I wasn't into grime. You said to me, no, you check for this tune. You should listen to this, man.
Yeah.
You would check for it. I was like, rah, yeah, this kind of stuff we would have made.
Yeah. So in that sense, it hasn't changed. I mean, like, okay, drill was just nuts in terms of like the violence, kill, and
I'm probably not up on drill because I was listening to drill a while ago, and I was like, I don't get what people are going on.
Now, some of it's okay. Some of it is just clearly, it's like, in some ways, it's almost like taking beef into another level.
Mm.
Yeah, so whereas like you can have two beefing and you know, I suppose like a classic, what was it, LL Cool J and is it Kool Moe Dee? Yeah. And I mean, okay then. I mean, the worst LL Cool J ever got were, I'm going to let you understand that when I've got a jammy in my hand, damn, you know. So, I mean, so there's a level of violence in there.
Yeah.
But it's kind of more implied.
Yeah, it's threat.
Whereas drill was just like, boy, I'm going to like shank you and it's just so explicit.
Yeah.
Like it leaves nothing to your imagination. And I suppose that's the difference.
No, I feel you. I remember when I was trying, because I wanted like you to understand it, and I watched the video, and what it was going through was it was pointing out all the places that the drill songs were talking about people being killed.
Yeah,
and that was a level that I was like, okay, yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah,
you can't be making songs and literally dancing on man's grave.
But that's what we're doing, but that's to provoke a response. Yeah. Whether that is a response through song or a response as in I'll meet you on the street. But that's whereas. I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether Cool J and Kool Moe Dee would ever meet on the street and go at it, or whether, you know what I mean, like privately they're sitting back going, boy, you know what I mean, we just sold another couple million units from, because like, I don't get the impression from drill music they're doing it to sell units.
No, actually, definitely not.
Do you see what I mean? There's a difference, whereas like some of the beefs that we've come across in hip hop were definitely to sell units.
Yeah.
Some of them were genuine beefs, which sold units anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But some of them, I think, were just manufactured to sell units. Drill's not. Drill, I don't get that impression that drill is there is manufactured to sell units. It's just, boy, I belong to this gang and I'm going to represent on track.
But you see, that's the problem, I think. Not the problem, I suppose. I guess that's what I understand about it. Is what you just said. Is that, you know, we was for and listen to hip hop. We might not have been in any gang per se, but we were representing on track.
Yeah.
So whatever we believed, you know what I mean? Whether it was some gang shit or some black power shit or some gal, check enough gal shit, that's what we represented. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I appreciate that what they're representing isn't really for me. But I suppose I still get the kind of NWA side of it. I think, to be honest with you, fam, it might be because I don't think anything will ever scare me much more than the first time I heard NWA's album. That to me was like the watershed of, oh, okay. Something's changed now, because that's what they were doing. They were representing on track. I might not be doing this, but my neighborhood is like this. There's man in my neighborhood and this is exactly what they're fucking on. And I had no idea. So in a way, now if I hear drill, I just kind of think of that. That, boy, it's a real shame that fucking modern day Fagin caught all of you guys slipping and your parents weren't paying attention. There's no social services to scoop you up on that shit. And he's dragged you into this life and you're representing on track and this is where you're fucking living. You're out there juggling your things on county lines, look on the corner, on the lookout, and next man come around there, this man's telling you that you got to go shank them. Mm-hmm. That's your day to day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I find it heartbreaking, but I that's why I agree with you and said that I don't think they're doing it for the sales. I think, you know what I mean? I might be like an old man and they might be tricking me, but I'm with you. I'm thinking, no, them man are just speaking their truth.
Yeah.
It scares the shit out of me. I suppose the flip side to that as well, I'll say quickly, is that with, I suppose, as beefs went on, as you said, from the early beefs, if you think about the most notorious one, which has to be Tupac and Mikkey,
yeah.
Even, well, them man were talking about who got killed on record. First they were talking about who got robbed and who got shot.
Yeah.
And then, and even after they both died, their crews were still talking about which other members of the crew were getting killed on record.
Yeah.
So there's outlaws and all that fuckery. So again, I think that was really unfortunate because I don't think that was a setup if it was one that went fucking very, very badly wrong. You know what I mean? And again, I think all them guys were just talking their truth because that's why I fucked your wife, you fat motherfucker. Is a pretty grim way to start a record if you don't want a man to come chop you in your head. Fair enough. It's funny how people have got such fucking short-term memories because no one remembers that side of Tupac. Yeah. If you're on Instagram, there were like 4 billion we love Tupac, the best rapper in the world, which is just bizarre as quotes go in itself. I'm sorry, why do people think Tupac was the best rapper? I have no understanding of how somebody who listens to hip-hop music could come to that conclusion. I just don't. It just leaves me fucking cold. What?
Yeah, but you put that on record, so I'm sure people will be going, what do you mean?
Yeah, fuck them. Is that saying, yeah, Tagliatelle, the best pasta ever, man? What? Have you never eaten in an Italian restaurant? Tagliatelle, man. Versions of Tagliatelle. Pine nuts. What are you talking about? I understand drill music much more than I understand people who genuinely think Tupac is the best rapper ever. Them motherfuckers are beyond me, man. I think there's redemption for drill artists. But if you think Tupac is actually the best lyricist ever, there is no redemption for you.
Yeah, I don't know.
We can't bring you back, man.
I've kind of got that again because there's I haven't read the article, but I know there was some uproar because they've done the top 50 rap artists, and there's some beef about
that was bait
about some certain people in it, and I'm like, I just said I'm not even gonna read this.
Yeah, I don't. It was just bait.
Right.
Yeah, you know it's amazing. Like in this day and age, the guys who do it are clever, but some of this shit is just bait. Like I mean, it is. Let's distract this section of the population for a couple of weeks, and I swear that somebody like. When I put replay conspiracy theory, it says some fucking white member of the FBI sat in an office somewhere and said, how did we distract all these black kids into hip hop for a couple of weeks and cause a lot of arguments? Let's produce this list. It's that bad.
Right.
Because that's why it caused all this argument.
Right.
It's just foolishness. But the thing is, when it was brought to my attention, I just said, that's why I don't do lists.
Yeah.
Because the thing about lists is they're subjective. So it's just like, if that really is someone's top 50, good for them. As long as I have to go to their fucking parties, I'm over the moon. So I just find it's properly based. I mean, huge distraction, loads of arguments, Twitter wars. Like, what the fuck? Who gives a shit if that's someone's top 50?
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Unless it goes 2 bets in that. The thing is, the thing that people don't understand is I genuinely like Tupac. I really admire Tupac. I think he made some amazing records, and he was a pretty good rapper.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so offended by people who put him on this pedestal. I'm just like, you just lost the whole point. The guy was fucking brilliant. Yeah. But trying to make him into this rap stroke, lyrical god stroke messiah. Especially when you kind of trying to tell me that, lyrical gods like Eminem, Black Thought, and Nas aren't lyrical gods, but Tupac is. We got beef. I'm making a drill song. Yeah. Well done, man. You survived all the bullshit. I made it. So, when you start a podcast?
Do you know what? I ain't got time for that, man. And I don't know what to do. So...
Well, I agree the first one, as we discussed already. That was one of Mikkey's favourite quotes. Ain't no time for that mess. Right? No, you could do one, because it does take a lot of time. Because if it took a lot of time, I would do one. It takes more time than it should, because I'm not as organised. No, because you've heard my podcast, I don't plan shit. So actually, that doesn't take long, I just go. It takes about as long as I need to have no one in the house for an hour and a half.
I don't know if I could be a
press play.
If I could do a podcast and be a teacher.
Yeah. No, that's real.
Yeah.
Because your opinions, that shit will come back and bite you in your ass.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is you could do a podcast, but I guess the level of honesty would be a problem.
You'd have to be an anonymous podcast.
Or lie a lot, or just stay away from some topics. Yeah. Like I've stayed away from loads of topics on this because I know that we just...
Et gaff til et gaff. Et gaff til et gaff. I'm illy with the til et gaff. Illy with the til et gaff. Net gaff, net gaff. Net gaff, net gaff.